Hello again, folks. This is Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair. And today's discussion is going to be concerning this very popular, see if we can zoom in a little bit closer on this thing, the Ford Quadrasonic AM/FM 8-Track player. You can just barely see the Quadrasonic nomenclature, and I see that the camera's a bit out of focus. There we go. This unit originally has a true quadraphonic playback system for 8-track tapes. Now when it comes to doing, there's a few things about this unit that pretty much force the customer to have a conversion done on it. One of them being, here's the output amplifier board in that model. Now there is more than one style, but on this particular style, this one uses integrated circuit output chips that are just not available anymore. They've got a habit of going out, and you're just not going to find either this original chip or any replacements for it. So if the amplifier messes up on this unit, you know, the radio's pretty much gone, and we just have to do a conversion on it. So this particular unit here, see if we can get this thing up here. This is the tape transport out of that unit, and there's a unique little thing that we had to do on this thing. One thing I'll mention is that the customer did not want to pay the extra $250 to have two conversion modules installed, which is what's required to maintain the true quad capability of the 8-track section. And most 8-track listeners really aren't too big into quad tapes anyway. They tend to be very expensive, and quad is just not a real popular item with 8-track enthusiasts. They just want to hear their 8-tracks. So this customer chose to just have the 8-track unit converted to standard stereo operation, and this means, of course, that you can't play quad tapes through it, but you can play any stereo tape with it. And so, that being stated, I'll show you a little something about this model here. Let me switch to our overhead camera if I can find it. That's camera number 15. There's our overhead cam, and inside this transport, you can see that the head is a quadraphonic head. It's got 4 gaps instead of the customary 2. And one weird thing about these 4-channel tape decks is to operate them in standard stereo mode. On some models, the head only moves to 2 different positions. With a standard stereo setup, you've got programs 1 through 4, and the head will actually click down through 4 physical positions. Now on a quad unit, there's no real need to have 4 positions. The mechanics would cost more than it does to simply switch the right heads in and out of the circuit for a stereo operation. So for instance, working from the top, the first and third heads are used for programs 1 and 2, and then when it switches to program 3, the head comes back to its original position, and gaps number 2 and 4 then come into play. Switching gaps, 2 and 4. Gaps 1 and 3 are switched out of the circuit, and gaps 2 and 4 are switched into the circuit. And so we'll just hook this thing up real quick so I can kind of show you about this head here. And I can still operate it without a tape in there. I'll just reach in there and hit the switch. Just got to find a little hot wire. And needless to say, this is strictly bench testing rigging, more or less. This is by no means the final way that I'm doing it. It's just to have this transport operating outside the unit so I can show you what's going on with this thing. Alright, so we should be able to get the motor running, and now we're going to switch heads, and you'll see that head only goes through 2 positions. And let's see here, see if I can I'll do this all with one hand. Okay, now you can still see the head. Get my little track change wire ready to go here, because I just got to short this against the chassis to change tracks. Okay. Okay, so we've got our transport running, and we're going to go ahead and switch tracks, see if I can get this head at a better angle so you can see it. Okay, now we're switching tracks, and as you can see, the head continually just moves to 2 positions. It does not go down through what's normally position 3 and position 4. We just got 2 positions of that head. So what that means is the the individual head gaps need to be switched in and out of the circuit as required to play programs 3 and 4 on a standard stereo tape. And now here's the existing board that was inside the unit. This is our mainly our tape head preamp board. These are our preamp chips. Each one of these is basically two amplifiers in one. These are both preamps. One of them is for the left and right front. The other one is for left and right rear, and you've got some individual level control so you can balance that output. But the thing I don't like about this, we could leave this board in there and just use the existing preamp, but one problem I have with that is these chips are probably about 30 years old, and these two are no longer available. So there's no sense putting this thing back in, because if it goes out anytime soon, then customers got to pull the unit and send it back to me and pay even more to have a new preamp built. And another thing I don't like about this board is that the switching, you'll see that there's no actual switches on the board. What they use as switches are these little transistors. Basically, it's called electronic switching, meaning that there's no mechanical goings on, there's no moving parts in the switching. It's purely electronic, and it's done through transistors. Okay, now the problem with that is that anytime a signal, and the audio actually does run through these transistors, and so anytime a signal is subject to any unnecessary electronic processing, it's going to affect the sound of it. Now, this usually isn't too noticeable with the average listener, but if you're a guitar player like myself, and your amplifier is responding to the way that you're picking and strumming, you can definitely notice a difference between unnecessary electronic processing being involved. And so the modern pedals, most of them are not what we call true bypass. They will most modern effects pedals are not true bypass, meaning that even if the effect is switched off, it's still in the circuit and your guitar is still running through it. And I played with a few guys that just love their effects, and they go out and buy all these cheap modern pedals that are not true bypass, and even when they have all their effects turned off, their guitar signal is going through 5 or 6 extra stages of unnecessary processing, and basically it just really sounds like crap. And you're not going to convince them that it sounds crap, because they think it sounds great. It's more distortion and it's more crap, which is kind of what rock music's built around, is crappy sounding guitar. And so anyway, to that end, they have finally started making effects, several years ago actually, that they proudly call true bypass. And so I'll just show you a modern effect here. Now the actual guts are gone. I built it into another pedal for my own stage use, but you'll see that this pedal is proudly labeled true bypass. True bypass. And that means it has an actual DP-DT foot switch that switches this effect completely out of the circuit, and even if the effect's turned on, you hit this switch and it bypasses the signal straight from input to output, and the effect is completely disconnected so that there's no unnecessary electronic processing taking place. So to that end, I know you're probably wondering why I'm going into this big old spiel and what I'm working up to. So let's just go ahead and take a top view of our transport here, going back to our transport, if I can find the right camera. Okay, there's our top view of the transport. Now, obviously, I've made it pretty clear that I don't like electronic switching. It colors the signal unnecessarily, and it's not necessarily the most reliable way of doing it. So what I'm doing here is I am going to use a relay to perform the head switching. The track change cam on this unit is eccentric, and it engages a switch for 2 of the positions, and then for the other 2 positions, it disengages the switch. So I just ran that switch into this relay, and the relay is going to be what switches the right heads in and out of the circuit. Now, we only need a 2-pole relay to do this. I choose to use a 4-pole relay because Barry's 8-track repair is all about long-term reliability, and it's pretty commonly known that relay contacts can get dirty and oxidize and start making marginal contact. So what I do is I use a 4-pole relay, and as you can see, it's the same relay that I've installed on the transport. And what I did was just basically jump all of the poles, or actually 2 of the poles together on both sides, so that we've got a backup system in case one set of contacts on this relay starts to get kind of funky, we've got the other set of contacts in parallel that will pick up the slack. So that's just a kind of a long-term reliability and performance thing, which is my primary consideration. And then over here, we just have my new preamp. This is the one that I build by hand, and it's got its output level controls and all that. And I do prefer to use my preamp to the original because my preamp was designed to sound brighter. So now what we're going to do, I think I've kind of exhausted my speech here and kind of brought up all the points I wanted to bring up. So now we're just going to, now that I've done this relay thing, I've got the relay installed, and I've got the wires from the relay to my preamp board, and then for the time being, I just have a little cable to my test receiver tack soldered onto the output of the thing. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this thing on, play a tape, run it through all the tracks, and make sure it switches tracks properly. We want to hear, we don't want to hear the same material on track 3 as we do on track 1. We want to make sure that that this thing is switching properly. So let me just find a few little things to prop this thing up with. And let's go ahead and switch camera angles here if I can find it. Let's try this camera here. Alrighty. And this is just going to be a short and sweet test just to make sure that it's working the way that I'm hoping it'll work. And then we can proceed with the rest of the conversion, which will be routine now that we've taken care of this 8-track thing. So, okay, I got my power hooked up, my ground. Let's get a ground going on here. Okay, make sure the motor comes on. Okay, and there you can see the flywheel turning down there. There's our flywheel. You see it turning. And now we're just going to pop a tape in and make sure that it does, in fact, switch through all four programs. So here we go. Get this thing going on. Get some sound. Okay, and it always helps to plug this thing in. I'm going to plug it into our test receiver. Okay, we're just going to switch tracks a few times. Alright, so here we go. Okay, this is a blank spot on the tape. Okay, so as you can see, we are getting 4 distinct programs when we run through our program change. Now, if this thing was not switching the heads in and out of the circuit as needed, you would hear the same material every other track change. So we can see that the active heads are moving through all 4 positions, even though the head itself is only going into 2 positions. Okay, so we've made sure that the unit switches through all 4 programs with the heads properly switching out of the circuit, and that's all. That's what I was mainly after for right now, is to kind of show you what I do to this thing. Now it can be we can do a conversion on your Ford quad unit, and we can preserve the true quadraphonic functions. Only thing is, it costs an extra $250 to get that extra 2 amplifiers in there. The conversion boards, they're designed to. They do have 4 individual speaker amplifiers, but it's just like a regular radio. It's only capable of stereo reproduction because there's only 2 inputs, right and left hand inputs. It does not have, left front, left rear, and right rear inputs. And there simply isn't enough demand for quadraphonic sound for the designer of the conversion modules to come out with a true quad version. There's just no, there wouldn't be, he'd be losing money basically. So anyway, I've just kind of demonstrated what I do to convert this thing to a stereo only, so that the customer saves $250 when he goes to have his Ford quad unit converted. And of course, this thing will no longer play quad tapes properly. You'll only get two out of 4 tracks, no matter how you set it up. But at any rate, this can be done. Saves a lot of space, saves the customer a bunch of money, and if you're not really that concerned about being able to play quad tapes in your car, then this is the way to go. So, without any more delay or bending your ear, this is Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair. If you have an 8-track player either for home or for car use in need of service, you can contact me directly at 928-533-9666. Needless to say, if you have a classic car AM radio or a classic car AM FM radio that you would like to add just a truckload of more audio power to, with the additional possibilities of Bluetooth and USB and aux input, you can contact me for those reasons also. Once again, my number is 928-533-9666, and my website is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.